Swing and a miss. Struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of baseball.
And the Sixers win it! Wow!
Oh man, Embiid just posterized Russell Westbrook.
You love the Philadelphia Eagles? Let me get a hell yeah!
What is up, everybody? It is Dives, Mr. Crockpot on Twitter. This is Party on Broad. If you're watching us live here on YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, whatever, please be sure to throw a like, smash that subscribe button below. Most importantly, though, bring that trash talk. Comment. We'll respond. We want to make this as interactive as possible. Today is our weekly preview show. We're going to break down all the top storylines and matchups for the Philadelphia Eagles heading into Week 3. And tonight we're going to give our final thoughts on the Eagles versus the LA Rams. We're going to rank who is to blame out of Howie, Doug, Carson, and Jim Schwartz. That's going to be a riot. But before we get started, let's introduce our guys. First up is the co-host, Rob. You know him on Twitter at Philly_Madness. My man Rob is the co-host of the Madness podcast with Jessica Town. What up, Rob?
You know that you like to stay on schedule, but something tells me we're going to have a lot to talk about from Sunday. I want to apologize. I couldn't make the show, but drinking a lot of beer and chasing my son around were the only things keeping me sane. And I don't on the show, seeing as though I thought I was chatting with you live an hour after you had stopped the show on Sunday.
Oh, man, everything hurts, man. That show, nothing is more painful when you're doing a post-game show and the Eagles just completely shit the bed. Next up, we got my man Dylan. He is the host of the Faithful Fanatics podcast. Follow him on Twitter at DylanJD98. What's up, Dylan?
Rough night, man. If this doesn't explain how I have to do the show, then I don't know what does.
All right, here we go. And joining us today is a special guest tonight. My man is the co-host of the Double Doink podcast. He's an NFL writer for the National Football Post and an Eagles writer for 4th and John. Make sure you follow his podcast on Twitter at the Double Doink _ and give my man Brendan Deeg a follow at Eagles Talk _ What up, Brendan?
What's going on, guys? Thanks for having me on.
Oh, man, let's talk some birds. And before we get, really into the blame game and preview Week 3 of the Philadelphia Eagles, let's talk about our final last thoughts of Week 2 versus the LA Rams. Lead us off, Rob.
I have been really excited for tonight for the last 72 hours. I have been promoting that if anyone wants to see me as pissed off as I've ever been, tonight's the night to watch me. What I saw on Sunday was the epitome of the disgrace and the fall from grace that this Philadelphia Eagles organization is in right now. You want to talk about the new norm 3 years ago? Was the new norm average play calling? Was the new norm not putting your players in the best position to succeed? Was the new norm terrible turnovers, a linebacking core that could not play anywhere in any league in the world? What was the exact new norm, Doug? The fact that maybe, just maybe, that year was a flash in the pan, and the fact is you can't do it without Frank Reich and DiFilippo by your side. Maybe that was the norm you were talking about, because I have seen you. He wants to throw Carson under the bus about regressing. I've watched a coach totally regress every single year he's been here. And I know people are going to tell me I'm too hard on him, and I know people are going to tell me, oh, if he comes back, I'm going to throw it in your face. Do it, because I tell you right now, today, September, whatever the hell the date is, I do not believe in Doug anymore, hands down.
Go ahead, Dylan. Final takes.
Well, I'm sure we'll get into the game a little bit more, but my final takes came yesterday and today with Jim Schwartz and Doug Peterson's press conferences, which I'll get into in a second. But Rob mentioned the defense and the linebackers. I tried to glance over it. I tried to overlook this weak position 2-3 weeks ago. Rob laughed at it when I talked up this defensive line. I talked about how they brought in NRC and Darius Slay and this revamped secondary, and that the linebackers, while Howie and Jim Schwartz don't value the linebacking position as much, neither do I really, but I knew Tyler Higbee was going to be an issue. I didn't think he'd be a 3-touchdown issue on Sunday. But the fact that – can someone explain this to me? Now, I'm not saying TJ Edwards is the answer. I'm not saying TJ Edwards is a superstar by any stretch of the imagination. But can you explain to me who in the hell Nate Gary is impressing on that team? He played 100% of the snaps on Sunday. Duke Riley played over 70% of the snaps on Sunday. TJ Edwards played 42% of the snaps on Sunday. Does that make any sense?
No.
It doesn't make any sense.
No.
But Rob, I have an announcement to make.
Okay.
I'm not 100% there yet. I'm coming to your side. And you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I'm telling you right now, that conspiracy theory is looking more and more factual every friggin' week
And I will tell you why. If it wasn't obvious with the play calling and him and I don't know, it just doesn't seem like him and Carson are in sync. And we'll talk about Carson because he doesn't skate free in all of this. Okay, he gets blamed. But Doug Peterson was asked a question 2 days ago or yesterday, and the question was, why are we seeing regression in year 5 from Carson Wentz? He misheard the question because he said progression, like he was confused because he thought the person said progression, and then he said that's a great question or that's a good question. Are you kidding me? Now say whatever you want about Jim Schwartz. He got his ass handed to him on Sunday. Sean McVay did whatever he wanted to on Sunday afternoon, but at least Jim Schwartz goes to bat for his players. Like, we know it's a blatant lie that these linebackers can't cover any of us. But Jim Schwartz at least said he believed in the group. Doug Peterson is out here saying that it's a great question while his franchise quarterback is regressing in year 5. Are you kidding me?
Nailed it.
Insert any movie scene where someone throws somebody else in front of a bus to protect their own ass. And that's what Doug Peterson did yesterday. And it just shows you once again. Here's my new term. I used to like the term jackass, but I said something today, and my cousin told me I should run with it. He's an asshat. He's just a pure asshat, and I'm going to roll with that one.
Brandon, final takes.
Oh, man, I love the energy coming from you guys. You guys are killing me. Final takes. All right, how long I got? It was an awful game, boys. That was a terrible Sunday to watch from start to finish. The defense, of course. Let's start there before I kind of get into my Carson Wentz takes. Defense was terrible. And look, the guys that they paid to kind of step up and be this defense, they spent their entire offseason paying these defensive guys. That's what the organization from top to bottom was. They wanted to use their resources to get a better defense. They go out and trade a 3rd and 5th round pick for Darius Slay. Look, Darius Slay is the only kind of bright spot of this defense. But look, they still lost 39-17. So maybe this 3rd and 5th round pick wasn't the best use of resources for a guy that's going to lock down the side of the field when they're still going to put up 39 points. Nikel Coleman looked completely lost. He looked awful. Defensive line, Fletcher Cox, Malik Jackson, and Javon Hargrave, they're the 3 of the top 19 highest paid defensive tackles in the league. They have yet to record a sack yet between the 3 of them. They have 1 TFL between the 3 of them. Derek Barnett looks like I don't even know what's going on with him. I know he finally started his first game. Let's see how he kind of goes. Brandon Graham was maybe their only bright spot on the defensive line. He had an okay game, but the defense just from start to finish looked unprepared. Jim Schwartz was getting pants basically by Sean McVay the entire game. And what bugged me the most is I don't know what the Rams did that none of us have seen before. Like it was straight up stereotypical Los Angeles Rams offense. It's all like 6 plays with motion and jet sweeps, and they all build off kind of those same 6 plays. And it looks like Jim Schwartz has never seen it before. And there was actually a shot on the Fox Network they were showing. I think it was Markel, the defensive backs coach. He was yelling at the players on the sidelines, and they looked completely disinterested. They didn't look like they didn't even want to be there. Yep. I know Jim Schwartz came out in the press conference today and said that it was the game plan that he brought up, but really, I know he was kind of backing up. It was probably that, but there was a lot more the roster building as well on top of that. And then on the offensive side of the ball, look, Carson Wentz, the Eagles were down 21-16. They were driving down the field. They had a chance to take over and take the lead, which in a game they shouldn't have. They shouldn't have been in that position if it wasn't for that TJ Edwards strip sack on Cooper Kupp and the punt return. And then he makes this boneheaded play on first down where he's doing a play action. He kind of rolls out of the pocket a little bit. He sets his feet, kind of throws across his body. It was a weird-looking throw and throws like a strike to J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, who, look, there's this high safety there, and he's got a cornerback on him. If you're looking up and you're seeing two guys in J.J. Arcega-Whiteside's vicinity, throw the ball somewhere else. That means someone else is open. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you should be loving the fact that there's two guys in J.J. Arcega-Whiteside's vicinity. That means a guy like Sanders or Ertz or Goddard or Deshaun Jackson is open. It was a boneheaded throw. It was inexcusable. And I hate to say it, I'm concerned about Carson Wentz right now. I'm concerned about this whole Philadelphia Eagles team. I have no idea what they are right now. I can't get a read on them. But the stats are telling the story now. They're minus 28-point differential right now, which is last in the NFC. Carson Wentz has the worst passer rating in the NFL, only behind Kirk Cousins. They're embarrassed. They're the worst team in the NFC as of right now, in my opinion. And it's from top to bottom. It's Howie Roseman has built this team. They look old and boring. Like they're all their players are old in their core. Fletcher Cox, 29 years old. Zach Ertz, 29 years old. Deshaun Jackson, 33 years old. Jason Kelsey, 32 years old. These guys are old. And you know what? It's looking like they need an infusion of youth in this roster. They need an infusion of some sort of spark. It was – look, I after week one, I was thinking all these things I'm saying right now. And that game kind of just put everything in perspective that, look, this could get ugly.
Go ahead,
Guys, real quick. First of all, the Carson interception, it was a bonehead play. It was terrible. But I think the part that pissed me off the most was who he was trying to force the ball in there to. Like the throw is inexcusable in itself. The fact that you're forcing a 1st and 10 pass to the end zone on a rope to J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, it blows my mind. But Fletcher Cox, there's a tweet Brandon Lee Gowton put out earlier. Fletcher Cox has 3.5 sacks and 11 quarterback hits in his last 21 games, 0 this season, and he carries the highest cap number on this Eagles team this year, just under $23 million.
Yeah, you nailed it there. Like he in both those, like he should have looked up and saw J.J. Arcega-Whiteside with two guys on him and looked the other way. If no one else is open, live to see another down. Okay, it's first down. You're in their own end, and the drive was working. They were actually moving the ball slowly but surely, but they were doing it. And he's got to learn to just pull that ball down, throw it somewhere else, or throw it away. And you know what? Like I don't know if he's trying to play hero ball right now. But like there's something going on in Carson Wentz's mind that's not normal. And the Fletcher Cox thing too, you said he doesn't look like he looked great in that Seattle playoff game. He did, and I was expecting this year to kind of get that Fletcher Cox back. But we're not. There's always last year he showed flashes of taking over games in the Fletcher Cox we're used to seeing, but there's nothing there on this defensive line, and that's where all the resources are going to right now. Right? Is these defensive players that are not doing anything?
Yeah. And
Go ahead, Rob.
Chris, I know you want to move on. I know we're messing up your schedule here, but Brendan, you said it. This team looks lifeless. They look like there's no leadership anywhere. We talked about this in the offseason. You got rid of Malcolm Jenkins. This is now twice in my lifetime where I've watched you get rid of the heart and soul of a football team, and look what happens. And I know everyone's going to say, oh, Malcolm got burnt left and right last night. That's not my point. My point is you have 0 leaders on this team. Yeah. And your head coach, who's supposed to be a player's coach, who everybody wants to play for, guess what? He's now losing that locker room. These guys don't just have that fire for Doug Peterson right now. Why? Because Doug is walking around like a whiny little whatever the hell you want to call him. Asshat. Him and Howie are fighting. Asshat. Him and Howie are having a power struggle. Carson didn't like his offensive coordinator, so now he doesn't like Carson. This is all a big friggin' joke. And I understand guys get a grace period. Look, he was the coach of the Super Bowl winning team. My grace period's friggin' done with this guy. I'm tired of hearing, no. This is bullshit. You told me this was a new norm, and what you're giving me is worse and worse and worse every year since then. And I don't want to hear the injury excuse because everybody has it this year.
No. Wait.
He actually said, the shortened season. It's not affected some of the best teams in the league, is it, Doug?
Yeah, you nailed it. I can't take that excuse anymore. Look at Cam Newton. Him and Julian Edelman. Look at them on Sunday night. He had 170 yards. Cam Newton was there for 2 weeks, maybe. Right. Like, you know what I mean? That excuse is crap. I don't want to hear that excuse anymore. Maybe for the guy like Jalen Reagor, maybe that makes sense because he's a rookie and they don't know each other too much and there's not a lot of tape. But miss me with that excuse. I agree. I don't like to hear that.
Real quick, Dylan, and we're going to move on. Go ahead.
Another thing in his press conference when he was asked about does he think about communicating with Carson, or whatever, however the question was phrased? And he said, yeah, I think about it a lot. And he went into detail about how, like, he would love to have a dialogue with Carson. Like, he thinks about having a dialogue with Carson about if Carson sees this, and then he can come to Doug, and then Doug can tell him how he sees it. But what do you mean you think about it all the time? Like, if you go back, like, that's exactly what he said. You think about the dialogue with your franchise quarterback. Why are you not having the dialogue? And then there was an interview with Sal Pal today where he said, and look, and you can read too much into it, I guess, but he said that by not being there or whatever, or not being in the locker room, he has to go by what he sees on the field. And when Carson, I think it was the first interception he threw against the Rams, he said nobody went near him after that interception. No one talked to him. No one patted him. No one said anything to him until he went to a coach and got the tablet to look over the play, and then there was a dialogue. No one went to your quarterback after he threw a game-changing interception.
Yeah, I heard that interview today. It was. I didn't know what to make of it, but yeah.
We have the Joe Show, Philly Sports Talk, joining my man Brian. He was on our pregame show and our postgame show last weekend during the game. He said Wentz is pressing too much. His form shows it when he is playing. Some reporter mentioned Wentz was still talking about Washington during postgame Sunday. It's getting to Carson's head, and I'm starting to think this team doesn't believe in Carson Wentz. We're going to get into Wentz very soon. My final takes, man, you guys kind of touched on it. It's the Eagles' defensive line. You know, I think the most disheartening aspect of the Rams game has to go to the inability of the front four to really generate any kind of pressure. Barnett, Graham, Malik Jackson, Fletcher Cox, Javon Hargrave, Josh Sweat. Yeah, I had low-key questions, Rob. We talked about this on the defensive line going into this. But the guy I'm most disappointed in, and you guys touched on it, is Fletcher Cox. This guy was dominant last year in the playoffs, that last 5-game stretch. This guy has been nearly non-existent so far through 2 games. 191 yards on the ground to the Los Angeles Rams. If the Eagles want any chance of making the playoffs this year, Fletcher Cox can't be okay. Fletcher Cox can't be good. This guy needs to be great. This is the second highest player paid on the team. Howie Roseman, like you said, Brendan, spent countless assets building around Fletcher Cox. This was the year that there were no excuses. The excuses have to stop for Fletcher Cox becoming a defensive player of the year candidate. It's not happening. It's just not happening. And there's a lot of things that like really pissed me off about last Sunday's debacle. But for me, the biggest takeaway is the defensive line getting carved up, repeatedly unable to read a misdirection, a bootleg, set the edge. The list goes on and on. So that is a major red flag when all of your assets, all of your cap, and you can't even beat a Los Angeles offensive line that wasn't that great to begin with. $22 million for a guy who stops the run. That is not good enough. We keep calling out Doug Peterson, Carson Wentz. Fletcher Cox, man, I'm coming for you, baby. All right, let's move on to the blame game. So here we roll. We are going to rank who is most to blame for between Howie Roseman, Doug Peterson, Carson Wentz, and Jim Schwartz. I'm going to actually record our rankings, and I'll throw it in a little Google sheet to see how we stack up. Go ahead, Rob.
All right. The only thing that I have a question is, are we just talking about the Rams game or in general? Because the reason I asked that, because this is bigger than one game right now. There is turmoil like you want to believe. And like Jim Schwartz, if it's the whole picture, is not necessarily going to be as high as if it's just for the Rams game. So I am curious about that first.
Overall.
Overall. Okay. Well, listen. All right. It starts with my man Howie Banner up there in the front office, who is acting like the man who he learned from right now, which is I'm smarter than all of you. I'm the man in the big chair. Everything that I do is the right decision, and I'm going to show you that it's the right decision, even if it means our team's going to look like shit out on the field. All right, so to me, it starts with the roster construction, right? And I said this about the Sixers. I say this about the Phillies. Look, the front offices in this town right now flat out suck. They are an absolute garbage, except for the Flyers, who actually seem like they have a little bit of
Carter Hart, baby. Carter Hart.
In front offices. But every other one. Matt Klentak comes out yesterday when I'm pissed about the Eagles, and I just send all my anger towards his stupid ass. So like that, so Howie Banner is number one. Then I'm coming to my man Dougie Kotyke. all right, because he looks like the dumbass who got his 2-point conversion sheet washed away years ago before he laminated the sheet, okay? Because all I see is a vanilla friggin' offense that I could call out the damn play sitting on my couch, which means these guys that are being paid millions of dollars to scheme for it certainly know what the hell is coming. And not only that, I just wonder if he looked across the way at all on Sunday and saw Sean McVay doing what he could to accentuate the positives of Jared Goff while not allowing him to play within where his flaws were. But instead, he just keeps dropping Carson straight back, keeping him in the pocket. There's no moving of the pocket. There's no rollouts. There's none of that. I don't know why. Apparently, last week it's because, well, we had bad plays on first down. Oh, so you can't run a rollout on second down. I got it. Okay. I'll take that one with me there, Dougie. So Doug Kotite comes in at number 2. For those of you who think I just kissed Carson Wentz's ass, Carson Wentz comes in 3rd. He has not been good enough in these 2 games. Why won't I put the bigger blame on him? Because in his last 6 total games combined, 4 of those games he did pretty damn well. And I understand that was last year, but I also say, you can't just discount them when he was throwing to what he was throwing. And I think Carson is a flawed quarterback. And what I mean by that is he's not the elite guy that could do whatever you want him to do, whenever you want him to do it, and he's going to make people win. Like in that sense, you got to play to his strengths. When you do, I think Carson could be an elite talent. I think Carson with Doug McVay is even better than Jared Goff with Doug McVay. Like, I think the things that he could do in that offense are incredible. Okay. And then I'll go with Jim Schwartz. Now, listen, I've always had an issue with Jim Schwartz. I'm tired of I love what he says and this, and that's great. He owns up to it. But how many years are we going to do this? Where you have these games and then he has the one game that's really good. And you go, oh, okay, things are okay. And then it's back to the same shit. So, I mean, he's definitely a part of the problem. But when you talk about the overall problem, this is a management and this is a Doug Peterson issue. Doug has never recovered from losing Frank Reich and John DeFilippo on his staff. I stand by that.
My man, Chris Coyle joining. Move the pocket. That was just maddening Sunday. Let's go with Brandon. How would you rank the blame game here, man?
I think it's tough to put, I know my number 1 is going to be Howie Roseman, for sure. I don't know where to put 2, 3, and 4 because I think Carson Wentz to start, he's only played these 2 bad games. He's been awful, but I'm still a Carson Wentz guy. I still love him. I still think he's got the talent. So I don't think overall in the grand scheme of things, he's going to be the problem going forward. If there's going to be issues with this team, I think Carson Wentz will stick around. But I'm just going to start with Howie Roseman. I'll kind of give my take on him. I have been very skeptical of his decisions from day one this offseason. At the beginning of the year, there was an article that came out. I don't know exactly who wrote it that said Doug Peterson wanted to keep his coaching staff. And then the next day, Howie Roseman and ownership fired them. I'm talking Carson Walsh, the wide receivers coach, and all of Doug Peterson's guys. So there was clearly disconnect from Howie Roseman and Doug Peterson right there to start. And then just going to the draft, from the fact that you're drafting Jalen Hurts in the second round, was completely and utterly idiotic. There's no way to back it up. I've heard the excuses. I've heard the people say, "Oh, we're drafting a backup quarterback." No, you go and sign a backup quarterback. Look how we won the Super Bowl. We signed Nick Foles, a veteran backup quarterback. Why are you going away from that? The only reason that Howie Roseman drafted Jalen Hurts, and it's the only logical explanation, is because he thinks Jalen Hurts is the next Russell Wilson or has that potential. That's it. That's the only reason you draft a quarterback in the second round. It makes no other sense why. So there's no missing with the backup quarterback stuff. He thinks that Jalen Hurts could be that good. And you don't do that anyways if you have Carson Wentz there. So that was stupid. Taking a guy like Davion Taylor in the third round who can't see the field. So just in the draft in general, you're drafting guys that aren't seeing the field. Look at last year. Andre Dillard has played, one game for us? That's it. The draft picks are not there. He needed to have an infusion of youth in this roster, and he's been failing to do that. From just the all around the offseason, I haven't liked his decisions. Look, Darius Slay's been a bright spot for this team, but they still lost 39-17 and he played great. So maybe trading a 3rd and 5th round pick wasn't the best use of your resources there. You know what I mean? They're just trading away these draft picks for guys that are old. Again, Darius Slay, 29 years old. Fletcher Cox, 29 years old. He's failed to have a youth movement in this roster. They're on their last legs. Like the core that we won with in 2017, they're on their last legs here, and he's failed to kind of bring in a new youth movement to kind of force these guys to play better. Like, who do we got to look forward to? Miles Sanders, Dallas Goedert, like maybe Avonte Maddox if you're on his side. Like, there's not much there, right? That's young. And then like maybe I'll put second. I'll put Doug Pearson. But like I haven't liked a lot of Doug Pearson's play calling lately. However, I do believe that he's been able to take this team to playoffs that shouldn't have made the playoffs. I know that's a lot to do with the NFC East, but take a look at the rosters, guys, from 2018 and 2019. They had no business making the playoffs in those 2 years. He was able to scheme up something, I know, in the last 4 games with Carson Wentz to bring them to the playoffs in 2018. Him and Nick Foles kind of had a spark towards the end of the year. But like these rosters had no business making the playoffs with the injuries that they had, and then just the straight up fact that these guys weren't even close, in my opinion, to teams like the Kansas City Chiefs, Baltimore Ravens, teams that made it far in the playoffs in 2018 and 2019. I don't see them. I never put them in that factor, in that same in that same tier, if that makes sense. So I think Doug Pearson has done a good job. Not so far this year, I don't believe. I feel like just from day one of this offseason to now, he hasn't done a great job. But in the overall scheme of things, I can't really put too much blame on him. I think he's done an okay job here. I think Jim Schwartz's time is going to probably run up after this year. So I'll put him 3. He's kind of has a bend, don't break style of defense that has been kind of painful to watch sometimes. But like the later on in the years, it's gotten better. Like he only allowed more than 18 points once after week 13 last year. Or after the Miami Dolphins game, sorry. So he was able to kind of figure it out. But like I hate the backup against the wall mentality. I feel like that's the only card this team has been able to play with Doug Peterson is wait till our backups against the wall last minute, then we'll turn it on. That's the way that Doug Peterson and Howie Roseman and Jim Schwartz have played. That's the only card they've kind of been able to play to get this team fired up. And I think it's time to go for him. I'm not right now. Let's see if he figures it out. But right now, it's not looking like it. And yeah, I'll put 4th Carson Wentz because I still think he's got the talent, and I still think he'll figure it out. Like, look, he's played the 2 worst games of his career in week 1 and week 2. Like those have been statistically the worst 2 games. So I don't think it gets much worse from here. I think he'll pick it up. I really hope he does. I think the talent's still there, and he's still a franchise quarterback in my opinion. But he has to play better straight up. Like he's played awful, and he has to play better. But I can't put a lot of organizational blame on him.
Go ahead, Dylan.
Yeah, I have the same ranking as Brendan actually. Look, I'll start with Howie Roseman. You guys have said all the right things so far, all the same things I've been thinking. Look, you go back to the Super Bowl year 2017. He pressed all the right buttons that year. Before the season started, LeGarrette Blount, people thought LeGarrette Blount was washed up. He had 1 more year left in the tank, apparently. Torrey Smith contributed. It was the first year of Alshon Steele, and he played very good for this team. The Patrick Robinson deal, just all across the board. He trades for Jay Ajayi in the middle of the season, who helps them out. He pressed all the right buttons in 2017. But he can't draft worth shit. Like, Brendan, you've talked about it. We're not even talking about what we saw on Sunday Night Football. We're talking about JJ Arcega-Whiteside. You drafted him over DK Metcalf. Let's just throw that out there.
What did they see? That's another question. Sorry for jumping. But what did they see in him over DK Metcalf? You could have put someone that's never watched football before and just put their highlight tapes up beside each other and be like, this DK Metcalf is probably better. I don't understand what they saw in JJ Arcega-Whiteside that you could think is better than DK Metcalf and Terry McLaurin. I don't understand what they saw.
With JJ Arcega-Whiteside, the only thing they kept talking about was, in the red zone when he goes up. You have Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert.
Right.
You don't need that shit on this roster. You need DK Metcalf. You needed Terry McLaurin. It's just that they're scouting. I don't know who the hell's scouting these guys, but they suck. Hands down, they suck.
No, but Rob, I think that goes to you with your thoughts on Howie. I'm smarter than everyone. I'm the smartest person in the building, and he thinks he sees something that's not there, and this is the result of it. So that Howie Roseman, from top to bottom, constructing this roster, he has done nothing to help out Carson Wentz. I know we came into the season. I was very hopeful. I kept saying, look, there's no names offensively of the wide receiver group that jump off the paper at you, but he's got a lot of speed around him. Well, that's not working out. And I know it's only week 2, so maybe that changes. Maybe getting more reps with John Hightower and Jalen Reagor works out throughout the year. I don't know. He hasn't done anything offensively to help out Carson Wentz. He's absolutely ignored the linebacking position. Now, I don't know if that's him or if that's how Jim Schwartz tells him, because Jim Schwartz we know he undervalues the linebacker position. So
That's
I don't know.
the banner in him. That's the banner in him. Those guys ignored linebackers too outside of Trot. Think about after they lost Trotter, all the guys they tried to fill. It's been this mentality of this organization for far too long.
Right. So to me, Howie Roseman is number one to blame. Then I kind of have a 2 and 3 combined. It's the coaching staff for me. Jim Schwartz, I went to bat for him a couple weeks ago, and I was saying that, we see this bend but don't break. The corner's 10 yards off the line of scrimmage on 3rd and 3 because he's so terrified of getting beat deep with Ronald Darby and these weak-ass corners. And now he actually has Nickel Roby-Coleman and Darius Slay, so maybe we won't see that. Has the defense been the problem week 1? No, we really don't know that. I know they gave up 27 points to the Washington football team. All 6 of their scoring drives started on the Eagles side of midfield. Last week, he got his ass handed to him by Sean McVay. There's no way around it. So we'll see moving forward. But Doug Peterson, Rob, I was going to open the show with it. You said it perfectly. This is the new normal. What new normal? They're just and real quick, I went past it. I'm not forgetting. I'm going to bring this statement back, guys, from Doug and Howie. Don't forget when they said we're a quarterback factory. For better or worse, we are a quarterback factory. Those words were said going into this season, okay? So, okay. Howie Roseman, Doug Peterson 2, Jim Schwartz 3. And another thing, you see, there's the bend but don't break mentality of Jim Schwartz defense. It's not pretty. They don't force turnovers a ton. And, look, I don't know if you guys heard, and I know I keep, going off of bringing up what other people said, outside sources, but Adam Kaplan today, I don't know if you guys saw, but he said, I'm getting all my information from from people from other teams, and they all say the same thing. It's the easiest defense to figure out. They do not disguise.
Yep. Yeah.
And
go ahead.
And then lastly, 4th, it's Carson Wentz. Has Carson Wentz been awful the first game and a half? I'm not going to say 2 games because he was lights out in the first half before that pick. So he's had an awful game and a half. Sure. Yes, he has. But here's why I think, and again, I know I'm going to someone else, but Dan Orlovsky said it perfectly. His play right now is problematic. It's a reason the Eagles are 0-2. It's a big reason the Eagles are 0-2. Okay, the Washington football team does not get that momentum without those 2 interceptions in week 1. That game would be a W without those 2 picks. And then he was awful against the Rams. So yes, his play has been problematic, but he's also the solution for this team, in my opinion, as long as they don't screw up a great talent in my mind. Is he elite? I thought so. I want to think so. I'm not sure, but he's definitely top 6 or 7 in my opinion when he's on. And look, Rob, you said it the other week. He's not an interception quarterback. Historically, in his first 4 years, he's one of the only quarterbacks in the history of the NFL to have 20-plus touchdowns and 7 or less picks in a season. He had over 4,000 passing yards last year and didn't have a 1,000-yard receiver. The kid is special, man. Does he fumble the ball? Does he put the ball on the ground a lot? Sure. He needs, and like you said, Rob, I think that's just something you're going to have to live with. But right now, I think you're seeing him. He had to put on the Superman cape for the last 4 weeks last year, and he did it, and it worked, and the chances he took turned out perfect, and he got them. He won the division. And he's still doing it for some reason this year, in my opinion, and he doesn't need to. That J.J. Arcega-Whiteside interception just wraps it up perfectly with what he's trying to do this year. And another telltale sign of it. Where is he missing? He's not 5. He's not throwing the ball at people's shoelaces. His balls aren't in the dirt. They're going high. He's trying to force the ball, and it's not there. That is a telltale sign. So and again, I know people are going to say, you defend Carson Wentz too much. Maybe you're right. But I promise you, I'm not letting him off the hook by any means. But I'm telling you, 11 is the answer for this team. And I'm slowly coming to Rob's side. And I hope I'm wrong.
And listen, that was a terrible pick. Should have never thrown the ball. It was bad all the way around. But let me ask you this question. You are running the ball down their throats. You're dinking and dunking down the field. Why the hell is that your first down play call?
Yeah. Crazy.
All of a sudden, you go away from everything. Oh, let's catch them now. You don't have to right now. You've got all the momentum doing what you're doing. It's not like you needed that, like you were down 3 scores in the fourth quarter and you got to get points quick. It was the third quarter of the game. You were down 5.
Yep.
You know, and it's a terrible interception. And you know what? They almost had them on that next defensive series. They get a 4th and 1 on their own 30. And you knew at that point that the momentum had totally shifted back and it was done. But
let's keep it going, guys. We're going to keep this going. We have Brian. He said they need to change the playbook. The playbook is too predictable. We honestly do not have that much talent with receivers. Alshon's getting washed up. That's no shock there. The league is on to Doug Chip Kelly, 100%. 100%. I hear the Big Ten is coming back in October. That is definitely true. And that was like my also main thought of after the Sunday was it's time to start looking at Eagles draft targets because I love my college football. My rankings, these were tough. You know, this was like I'm a host of another podcast called The Suit Up Geeks where we cover like everything Star Wars and Disney and comic book movies and all that kind of stuff. So this was the hardest rankings I've done for a podcast since our greatest Pixar movie rankings. I've gone back and forth on all these guys because quite frankly, they're all to blame. But when I think of the Eagles' struggles since 2017, there's a repeating factor here that just keeps showing up again and again and again. And for me, the most to blame is Doug Peterson 1A and Jim Schwartz 1B. You know, we've rightfully killed Carson Wentz these 2 weeks on inconsistency, while Doug Peterson and Jim Schwartz have consistently shown an inability to put both sides of the ball in sync in the same game. It's borderline laughable. You know, when the offense is on point, the defense can't get their shit together. When the defense and vice versa. So when you take a look at the Eagles' struggles, like this is what I keep coming back to. You look at Doug Peterson's offense, which runs way more 2 tight end sets than everybody else in the NFL by a wide margin. The Eagles are 25th in the league since 2019 in yards per pass out of that. Even with Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert, they can't figure out how to get a great offense around these 2 great playmaking tight ends. So we talked about it. The offense is becoming too slow. And then you got Jim Schwartz, who has been given way too much power as a defensive coordinator. This is a guy who continually puts his players out of position, puts his guys way too far off the line of scrimmage. Everyone saw the Rams running countless bootleg and misdirection plays on Sunday. We talked about it again and again and again during our preview show, during the pregame show. They gave up nearly 500 yards of offense. Rodney McLeod states the Rams did nothing to surprise them on Sunday. That quote just told me everything I need to know. That Jim Schwartz is a bum. He's not getting the defense prepared. His scheme doesn't work. He doesn't put guys in position to succeed. I am just done with Jim Schwartz. The guy is a clown. He would not be allowed back in my locker room. He is a bum. My number 3 is Howie Roseman, and there are really no words to describe how inept this guy is. You guys touched on all of it. And then my last is Carson Wentz. And this one hurts my soul because I'm a huge fan of Carson Wentz. But nearly 60 games into his career, we've seen 0 progression in his development from a mechanic standpoint. He still holds on to the ball for too long. He fails to see the field. He continues to make the wrong throw or miss a guy in the end zone like we saw last weekend. I understand that Carson is a gunslinger, and this is a double-edged sword. So you live and die with this type of quarterback. But holy shitballs, I've never seen a quarterback go from hot to cold so quickly in my life. Carson Wentz in the second half of the Eagles' 2 losses, 23 of 44, 214 yards, no touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 4 interceptions since his last touchdown. He ranks 31st in the league in passer rating, near the bottom in completion percentage, touchdown percentage, yards per attempt. To me, an elite quarterback makes players around him better. And this guy just simply ain't it. And I've soured on this guy, and it kills me. So we're going to wrap that up, and we're going to actually
one quick stat you brought up that was interesting. The 2 tight end sets. The Eagles are actually currently playing 65% of the snaps from 12 personnel. The next team below them is Arizona Cardinals at 31%. Now they're playing more than double the next team of 12 personnel, which is completely and utterly outrageous right now. That needs to change.
I mean, that's a whole other podcast about where do we go from here? Because the offense ain't working. Let's talk about the top storylines. We're like 30 plus minutes in, and we just got to the Cincinnati Bengals. The Eagles take on the Cincinnati Bengals. Let's talk about the top storylines. Lead us off, Rob.
My top storyline is, listen, in this town, we've watched rookie QBs and no-name QBs who are supposed to struggle come in and light us the hell up. I said this going into last week. I'm going to say it again right now. Here's my top storyline. Will the Eagles make any of us believe in this team again? And it has to start with this week, with a sense of urgency that they haven't had since that, I guess you would say, the Dallas game of last year. This game has got to be one of those, they come out. Yes, Dan, it's very true. This has got to be a game where they come out, and it can't be close. Like, it can't be. It has to be an absolute – you have to have some fucking pride.
Woo!
You're a Philadelphia Eagle this week.
Earmuffs, Rob. Jesus.
Sorry. But you have some pride if you're a Philadelphia Eagle this week, because there is no way you could come out and struggle against this team who just let the Cleveland Browns go up and down the field on them on Thursday night. If you do, and if you don't scare the hell out of Joe Burrow for 1 week, then I tell you what, you might as well start doing draft preview shows, because there's no reason to talk about it.
I'm thinking about it, brother. All right, go ahead, Brendan. Top storyline versus the Cincinnati Bengals.
Well, the storyline in general, just see if Carson Wentz can get going. It's time, these 2 weeks. They can't have another bad performance from him straight up. This team isn't good enough to have a mediocre quarterback. They're not built like teams that have has a great defense or great weapons around them. It's just not it's the storyline of this game is if Carson Wentz can rebound. Are you looking for the matchup or just storyline? Because I have a matchup that's
whatever you want to put out there.
So storyline, of course, has to be if Carson Wentz can just straight up be better. Enough's enough here. These 2 games have been the worst games he's played in his career. And like I said, they're not good enough to have mediocrity at quarterback. He needs to be either very good or stellar. He needs to be a top 5 to 7 quarterback in the NFL for this team to win and to make a run at this. There's no other ifs, ands, or buts. So I think that's a storyline. The matchup I'm looking forward to the most, though, is a defensive line versus Cincinnati Bengals offensive line. That's where they need to win, in my opinion, as well. Look, like we brought up before, there's been a lot of resources and money flood into this defensive line, and it's for this reason right now. The Cincinnati Bengals offensive line is bottom 10 in the NFL right now. They haven't been able to protect Joe Burrow as much as they wanted to. Myles Garrett was able to get some pressure. If you watch the Thursday night game, and look, you pay guys like Malik Jackson, Fletcher Cox, Javon Hargrave. You pay these guys for this reason. So I think that's a matchup they're going to have to win if they're going to win this game. But yeah, the storyline, of course, Carson Wentz, and I'm really looking forward to seeing that defensive line versus offensive line matchup.
Love it. Dylan, you're up, man.
Yeah, I agree with Brendan. To see Carson Wentz bounce back after a poor game and a half and see how he progresses in week 3 is huge. We can't have another bad game out of 11. But my top storyline is, along with that, is to see how Doug calls this game. Because while I'm sitting here saying that, I'm not expecting, nor do I want to see Carson Wentz drop back and throw the ball 45 times in a shootout versus Joe Burrow and see Carson throw for 350 and 3 touchdowns or whatever. All I want to see is a clean game, protect the football, and the Cleveland Browns just ran for over 200 rushing yards against the Cincinnati Bengals. Pound the ball down this team's throat and let Carson roll out, use the play action, move the pocket, and let him have a successful day, Doug. Carson wants throw the ball 30 times, 31 times, protect the football, pick your spots, and just beat up this defense. I don't want to see him and Joe Burrow going back and forth, scoring, pushing the ball down the field. I don't need to see it. I don't want to see it in week 3. And then defensively, I think it's getting after the kid. because like Brendan said, they do have weapons all across the board. That you have a running back in Joe Mixon, you have Tyler Boyd, you have John Ross, he's not a big name, but he's fast as shit. AJ Green looks like he might be washed up, but I'm assuming that's who Darius Slay is going to be covering all day. So they do have weapons. Get after the kid, rattle him. He's looked very good in my opinion. He could have 2 wins. He should have beat the Chargers week 1. His kicker missed a chip shot field goal, and then he played well on Thursday night. What did he throw? 62 times? So I don't expect Joe Mixon to get 20 carries. I expect Joe Burrow to be dropping back over and over again. And you're gonna know from the first possession or two what Jim Schwartz you're getting on Sunday. If Joe Burrow is either going to drive right down this Eagles defense's throat, or Jim Schwartz is going to dial up a different scheme.
Yep. We have Philly fan PSU saying Joe Burrow is a baller. Kid hates losing, and Doug's play calling is the problem. Amen, brother. Amen. It's not all Carson. I don't feel like the organization has catered the playbook to his strengths. Amen. Amen. D-line, need to make Burrow go back to college. Let's go to my top storyline. I got continued improvement from the Eagles' offensive line. Both the Bengals and the Eagles have some extremely weak offensive lines right now, especially on the right side. But while the Bengals continued to struggle in week 2, the Eagles' right side between Lane Johnson and Nate Herbig, I saw drastic improvements. I think that was a positive for the versus the LA Rams for me. So I think it was the improved play there. I thought they really started to click, especially in that second half. And when you look at the Bengals, you touched on it, Dylan. They are good at a lot of things, but an area the Eagles must take advantage of is the run game. The Bengals are 3rd worst in the NFL in rushing defense, 185 yards per game, 2 touchdowns per game on the ground. The Browns ran all over them, 250 yards, 3 touchdowns, 6.1 yards per carry. So the Bengals defense has only gotten to the quarterback 1 time. So all signs point to Miles Sanders having a huge game and the Eagles dominating the line of scrimmage. My top matchup, though, is Brian Callahan, the Bengals offensive coordinator, versus Jim Schwartz. So I know it's week 3, but it's kind of like scary to think the blueprint is out on how to beat the Philadelphia Eagles. Keep the Eagles front 7 off balance, run as many misdirection, bootlegs, reversals, quick throws as possible. So the Eagles defensive line is just getting 0 pressure on the quarterback right now. I expect Joe Burrow to constantly get out of the pocket, attack the edges, and the Eagles linebackers. So this could very well be decided by Jim Schwartz on Sunday. We all talked about Nate Gary. That guy does not deserve to be in an NFL locker room. The Eagles defensive line must find a way to get between the ears of Joe Burrow on Sunday, man. Can Jim Schwartz develop the game plan that finally gets pressure on the quarterback? You said it. Joe Burrow threw 61 times last Thursday night, 2nd most ever for a rookie. He had 3 touchdowns, no picks. A lot of the Joe Burrow strengths and the Bengals strengths, they run 5 wide receiver sets, empty backfields. We saw a lot of that with the LA Rams. They're going to spread you out. That's my concern. So, Schwartz, go ahead.
You want your game plan? Don't allow Nathan Gary to play 100% of the defensive side. That's a start, Jim.
Tell your defensive ends and outside linebackers about the idea of outside contain, so they won't go running in the middle of the line as Robert Woods is already past them and they still haven't turned their head to realize that Robert Woods is still going the other way. Just another thought process right there.
Brutal. All right, let's get on to game predictions. Lead us off, Brendan.
I said it after week 1. I thought they'd bounce back after week 1. I said, look, they're a better team than the Los Angeles Rams, and they should win. And look what happened. But I'm gonna say it again. The Philadelphia Eagles from top to bottom have a better roster, and they should be able to beat the Cincinnati Bengals. Like I said, the defensive line versus offensive line to me is a mismatch. But we haven't seen the Eagles' defensive line produce yet, but they need to, and on paper they should. And Dylan made a good point earlier. I think this is a Miles Sanders game. I feel like if you're going to get Carson Wentz off the hook here and take a little pressure off him, this is the game to feed Miles Sanders. He looked good. He did look good in the Los Angeles game. He looked like he had some juice still, but he came out after the game and said that he has some conditioning issues because he hasn't been able to practice during training camp. So I think maybe this week we'll get him a little more rest, and he'll be like a full workload this game. I think they should pound the ball, kind of similar to, remember that Buffalo game last year where they kind of flipped it over and they just ran the ball and pounded it. I feel like that's a game that I feel like this is a time to kind of do that. Just pound it with Miles Sanders, get Carson Wentz on the move and the pocket moving. So I think the Eagles are going to win, but I don't think it's going to be a blow like Los Angeles Washington. I think it will be a close game though. Like I feel like the Cincinnati Bengals are kind of underrated. They were in both games against the Chargers and on Thursday night against the Cleveland Browns. So I think the Eagles will win and they should win. Do you want like a score prediction? I think it's going to be like 27-20 Eagles. But like, look, who freaking knows at this point right now? Like this team, I have no idea what this team is. I'm still looking to like what the roster says they are, but right now, I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine, but that's how I think they should go into this game. And I feel like if they kind of just run the ball and they get pressure with the defensive line, they should be able to take care of the Bengals by about a touchdown.
Dylan, game prediction, man.
Yeah, look, if there's one thing that Doug Peterson has told the truth about and has stuck to, and that is that Miles Sanders is his guy. He came out, him and Deuce told Miles Sanders in the offseason that, look, you're the guy now. He came out first game back after not playing all offseason, no preseason, weird training camp that he barely participated in, missed week 1, 20 carries for over 90 yards in week 1. I agree. It has to be a Miles Sanders game. And Brendan, tell me if I'm wrong, but not only should it be this week, and look, I get it. Some teams, you're not going to get a team that allows 185 yards for the first 2 weeks on the ground, like Dive said. But shouldn't this Eagles offense be more balanced based? Like if you go back to their crucial wins, the Packers game on Thursday night last year, the Bills game, like you said, just all across the board, Carson, like the team is just better overall when Carson's throwing 28 to 34, 35 times a game, not 40, 45 times a game. I keep saying it the first 2 weeks. I said, if we look back at this box score and Carson Wentz drops back 40 to 45 or has 40 to 45 pass attempts, it's not going to be a good thing for the Eagles. And it hasn't been through the first 2 weeks. Granted, you were losing big to the Rams early, but that game came back quick. To start the second half, you're only down 5 points. So, look, I agree. I don't know where this team stands right now. I know they're 0-2 and they look bad. I think it's self-inflicted. I think they had the ability to turn it around. I guess, look, Dives, I wanted to say this for my final thoughts, but I said it last week that the Rams game, I know it's week 2 and I'm not normally that guy, and that it was a must win. If you think I said that last week, it's true this week.
This is a definition of a must win game in Philadelphia right now.
And I'm not joking. Yeah. The season rides on this week.
Yeah,
if they lose to the Bengals.
If they lose to Cincinnati Bengals, it's going to get ugly. Like it just internally, you're going to see a lot of chatter. Look, with the Zach Ertz thing before, even with the asking for more money, you're going to see probably a lot more of that. And look, another thing. Sorry for interrupting here, but I've heard a lot like. The writers and the people that cover this team are not allowed in the locker rooms to kind of get the vibe of like the post-game vibe from the players and see what the kind of like their body language is like or anything like that. So maybe it's already kind of like that internally, right? Like people turning on each other. But I guarantee if they lose this week, there's going to be a lot of storylines coming out where like that. So
guys, I know I got to get to my game prediction. I'm going to. Another thing about that though is Jalen Mills. If you heard his thing today when they asked him about losing Malcolm Jenkins. I think you're already seeing this team irritated. He was pissed off about that question. He doesn't want to talk about losing the leadership role in Malcolm Jenkins anymore. So to your point, I think you're already starting to see that, and it's unraveling week 2. But with all that being said, the season literally rides on week 3 against the Cincinnati Bengals. So I'm just going to have to – maybe I'm being a little bit of a homer. Yes, they are better than the Bengals, but with the way they played, who knows? I want to say the Eagles win. I want to say they're going to suck me right back in. I'm ready to get hurt. I'm going to say I'd run the same score as Brendan, 27-20, 27-17, somewhere around that. But I think it's close to towards the fourth quarter.
All right, Rob.
All right, first of all, Jalen Mills, if you're upset about it, step up and be the damn leader that you told us in the offseason you were going to be. Don't bitch to the media for doing their job and asking you that question, all right? Get your defensive backs like Roby Coleman in line, okay? I'm sick of that crap. Don't get mad at the media for asking a question that needs to be asked. Number 2, I heard Dave Phipp today praise the young linebackers, Logan Wilson and Akeem Davis-Gaither, both of who they said the Eagles wanted. Yet for some reason, they drafted Jalen Hurts and Avion Taylor. So I don't know. Howie Banner, once again, you know more than me, kid. Do you? Listen, do I think they should win? Yes. Do I think they probably will win? Yes. But I am not gracing them with me picking them to win a damn game until they show me that they're a bunch of men and not a bunch of whiny babies who have no emotion. I will not pick them until they win. I want to be wrong. Right, guys? We talk about this. I root to be wrong. But guess what? You are not getting my pick for a victory. You haven't scored over 20 points yet, you sons of bitches. All you keep doing is pissing me off. So until you score over 20, I'm only giving you 17 points in this game, and you're going to lose 20-17, even though I probably think you're going to win, but I'm not going to say that.
Quick note, this is by far the most swearing per minute podcast I have ever done with this guy right there.
I don't ever on the madness, but today I was like, you know what? The hell with it. I'm cursing. I'm letting it go.
All right. My game prediction, like, even though the Bengals are a very garbage football team, like, I don't know how any Eagles fan can feel confident on the Birds getting a win on Sunday. I just don't. The team
I'm not confident.
Yeah, the team is simply out of sync, fails again and again to put a game plan together for an entire game. I just can't imagine the shitstorm that could happen if Philadelphia loses this game this time next week, man. It's I see this game as a nail biter, and hopefully this is a game that the Eagles can kind of build off of, like, Carson Wentz driving down the field, 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and start to build some kind of momentum. I'm going with Eagles 26, Bengals 24. Let's wrap it up. Final thoughts, Brendan.
Look, if this team doesn't win on week 3, you got the Steelers, the Ravens, and then the 49ers all in 3 weeks. Like it could get really ugly if they don't win in week 3. Final thoughts. I think they will. I think Carson Wentz bounces back. I think he's just too talented of a quarterback not to. I think Doug Peterson. I think they get figured out. Look, this is what I think. But like right now, everything that I thought about this team going into week 2, I was completely wrong. I thought they would win in week 2. So look, I don't really know, but I'm not confident. I feel like they're just too. They're too talented of a roster to lose week 3 against the Bengals and have this completely be a shipwreck. Because if they do, it's going to get really ugly. You're going to see a lot of storylines of people turning on each other in this organization. There's going to be a lot of finger pointing going on, and I just don't want to see that from the Eagles already week 3. So that's it. Like if they don't win week 3, you just strap up.
It's going to be a bloodbath, man.
Yeah,
it's going to be a bloodbath. Rob, final thoughts.
I watched the Dallas Cowboys do something historic on Sunday. I watched the New York Giants play to the final play even after losing Saquon Barkley. I watched the Washington football team to continue to battle against a really good Arizona team. Never did I expect a team under Doug Kotite to have the least heart in the division. And after this week, they have the least heart. It's time to step it the hell up and showcase that you are still the class of the NFC East. With that said, if you liked my fire here today, Thursday when me and Jess and our boy, the Philly Pod Victor, are just going to continue with some yelling and screaming. Make sure you tune in.
Dylan.
After week 1, I hoped that it was that 17-point lead lost to a JV team that doesn't even have a name would be a kick in the ass to start this season. I said going into week 2, you're going to learn a lot about this team's character going like this after on Sunday. And I was completely wrong. So I'm going to go out and say it again. You're going to learn about this team this week. Guys, if you want to pack it up and go home, we'll go home. We're going to find out Sunday. Okay. Yeah. So it is a must win. I know it's crazy. I said it last week. I'm going to fall on that sword again. If they lose on Sunday, the season is over before the quarter mark. Before the first quarter of the season is even completed, just pack it up and go home.
I hate you, 2020.
Yeah. So let's just hope that week 2 was a kick in the ass. You guys had talked about it. Where's the energy going to come from? The fact that I heard reports saying that some of the players said week 1 against Washington felt like a scrimmage or a preseason game because there were no fans. That can't happen. That if you want to be successful this year, it is going to be a weird season. I hate to break it to you. Maybe you're hoping that you get fans in the link late October, November. Who knows? It is ever changing. I highly doubt it, guys. So if you want to compete this year, you want to win your division again, you want to get to the postseason and show people what I thought you were going to be coming into this season, go win on Sunday afternoon and let me get hurt again.
Final thoughts is we're 1 week away from this turning into a scouting report podcast where we're going to talk about the top Eagles draft targets every week, and that can't happen. But my final thought has to be to my man Rob. You know where this is going. We have the Jalen Reagor versus Justin Jefferson check-in. Justin Jefferson versus the Colts had 3 catches for 44 yards on 3 targets. My man Reagor had 4 catches on 41 yards on 4 targets. I'm calling that a watch.
That's a 3-yard win for me, baby.
Yeah, he had more catches. I'm calling it a wash. 1-0 times 0. Rob, let's do plugs. Brandon, plug.
Yep. So you can check me out at Eagles Talk _ on Twitter. Recently just got hired at the National Football Post. So check me out there at Football Post and nationalfootballpost.com. And then check some Eagles content out at 4th and John. And of course, check out my podcast, the Double Doing Podcast. Have some great guests. I had Bo Wolf, Eagles beat writer from The Athletic, on today. So check that out. He had some kind of a lot of things to say that we said today. Just kind of a little inside the locker room there. I always have good guests on there. So yeah, check me out there.
Thank you so much for joining, bro. You're welcome anytime. Thank you.
Appreciate it. That was fun. You guys are awesome. I love the energy today.
Love it. Rob, plug time.
All right, Thursday night, the madness is truly going to be maddening. Jess is pissed. I'm pissed. We've talked about it 3 times already this week. And I just happened to be talking to Victor on Twitter the other day. I was like, I know you're like we said, do we want to bring someone in to talk us down or someone to rile us up? Victor's he's on it right now. Like, he's just as fired up as everybody else. So Victor's probably going to join us, and we're just going to do a lot more of what we did here. Only I won't curse as much because I try to keep the madness. Students might be listening. They don't need to hear Mr. Lange dropping F-bombs left and right. So tune in Thursday night, 8:00. The madness is going down.
Dylan.
Spitballing with me and Mike Small. Wednesdays, tomorrow night we'll be on again. Look, we talked all night about how I just talked about how the Eagle season is on the line this Sunday. The Phillies are going to extra innings in the second of a doubleheader, and this season is on the line right now. So tomorrow night's show, win or lose, should be a good time. So come check us out tomorrow. Spitball with me and Mike Small, and then the Faithful Fanatics podcast Thursday from 6 to 7, leading you into the madness. So come check us out, and then check Rob out.
All right. The Party on Broad podcast, we're going to be doing pregame and postgame shows every week. So, make sure you check us out. 11 a.m. start time, and then right after the clock ticks when the Eagles wrap it up. If you want to check me out, also the Suit Up Geeks podcast. Man, The Mandalorian season 2 needs to be like now, not in a month from now, because I need something to take my mind off of this. But man, thank you, everyone, for joining. Make sure you lock it down here at the Painted Lines YouTube channel. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. For Dylan, for Rob, for Brandon, thanks for watching, guys. Stay awesome.